It's a chance. You've heard of TED Talks, perhaps, on social media and other places. These are going to be Hope Talks by some of our own folks, so sit back and be ready to hear about hope.
He came to me without hope and without God in the world. Johnny was an 18-year-old senior in high school, and I was a 25-year-old pastor fresh out of seminary. He came to our youth group for a girl, but he accidentally met Jesus along the way. One day, Johnny came to me and he said, "Mark, can you teach me how to be a Christian?" And I didn't know what to do. This wasn't the first time I failed in life. When I was in 8th grade, I was playing third base in a baseball game. A ground ball was hit to my left side, and the ball bounced off the heel of my glove. I scurried over to pick it up. By the time I had the ball, the runner was halfway between home and first base. In a split second, I decided not to throw the ball because I didn't want to make 2 errors on one play. At the end of the inning, the coach took me out of the game. He said, "Mark, I didn't take you out of the game because you bobbled the ball. I took you out of the game because you stood there holding the ball." He said, "If you don't throw the ball, we will never win the game." In many ways, in the United States, the church is standing there holding the ball. If you're 65 years of age or older, only 9% of your peers have no religious affiliation. A full 90% of your peers are religiously affiliated in some way, and the vast majority with Christianity. But if you're under 30, that's not the case. People ages 18 to 29, a full 1/3 of your peers have no affiliation with any religion whatsoever. Ephesians 2 says that at one time, we all were without hope and without God in the world. But something happened when we gave our lives to Jesus Christ. Romans 5 says that we now possess the hope of the glory of God. Did you get that? We have gone from being without hope and without God to possessing the very hope of the glory of God. We have something with which to get in the game. 30 years after Johnny came to me, Brayton came without hope and without God in the world. He was an 18-year-old senior in high school, and he came to our youth group just this last year for a girl, and he accidentally met Jesus along the way. This time, we assigned a mentor to him. And on January 11th of this year, that mentor led him to faith in Jesus Christ and then began to disciple him in the basics of the faith. On May 1st, just a little over a month ago, Brayton stood in front of our church and gave testimony to all that God was doing in his life. In the congregation that day were his mom and his dad, and they've been with us nearly every Sunday since. I didn't stop playing baseball. When I was a junior in high school, I was back at my spot, third base. And in one particular game, our team was ahead by 1 run. There were runners on first and third with nobody out. A ground ball was hit to my backhand side, and I went over and made a play on the ball. And when I looked up, I was surprised to see that the runner from third had broken toward home. It would be an easy play. I took the ball and threw it as hard as I could to the catcher, but the throw was offline just a little bit, and it hit the runner in the shoulder. The ball fell to the ground. The runner was safe at home. The guy on first came all the way to third. The batter was safe at first. Again, there were runners on first and third, nobody out. This time, the score was tied. You would guess it. The very next batter hit a ground ball to guess who? Me. This one was hit harder and closer to the third base line. I had to go over to one knee and with one hand made a stop. It was really a good play. And I was shocked this time because the ball was hit so much harder. I was shocked to see the runner had broken toward home. I took and I threw the ball as hard as I could to the catcher, and this time I am pleased to report I did not hit that runner in the shoulder. I hit him right square in the middle of the back. flashbacks of 8th grade went through my head. The coach is going to take me out of the game. The coach is going to take me out of the season. When the inning came to a merciful end, I went over to the dugout and the coach came up to me. I knew it. Here it comes. Here it comes. He walked up to me, the coach did, and he placed his hands on both my shoulders and looked me in the eyes. And he said, Mark, I believe in you. Keep throwing the ball. You'll get them next time. The mission of the United Methodist Church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. But keeping with the theme of baseball, if you could make me the commissioner of the United Methodist Church just for one day, we need a commissioner, I would simply make one change. Vanna, can I have an R? See, I believe it is possible to think of yourself as a disciple and be passive with your faith. Just come and listen and soak it in. But if you think of yourself as a discipler, by definition, you are active. You are in the game. You are throwing the ball. You are making a difference. My life verse is 2 Timothy 2:2, where Paul says to Timothy, the things you've heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, I want you to entrust to reliable people who will also be able to teach others. There are 4 generations of passing the faith in this single verse. That's what a discipler does. Passes the faith to someone who passes the faith to someone who passes the faith. And that's what we're trying to do at the Compass Church. I think of Paige, who invites nearly everybody she meets to come to church. Co-workers, neighbors, waitresses, and a lot of them come. I think of Lindsay and Drew, who are considering moving 2 communities away to live in Winchester, Indiana, where we're launching a new campus this fall so they can be missionally involved in the church plant. I think of Adam and Shauna, who live in South Muncie. And when their community has a neighborhood yard sale, they don't sell anything. Rather, they give away donuts and milk and coffee and juice so that neighbors will come to them and they can build relationships with them. I think of Teresa, who gave her life to God a year and a half ago and then stayed involved in the life of her best friend who was an atheist. 6 months later, she led her friend to Christ, and then this new Christian began discipling her friend through the Gospels of Jesus Christ. I think of Todd, who is training a half dozen men how to be disciple makers. Men discipling men, disciples making disciples, iron sharpening iron. I think of Kenny and Janice, who moved out of their farmhouse into a retirement community for the express purpose of having neighbors, so that they can make disciples. Kenny currently has a Bible study for men. Janice has one for women. I think of you. What is your sphere of influence? Where are you called to bring hope to a hopeless world? And here's the question. Are you going to stand there holding the ball, or are you going to get in the game? Picture God coming up to you, placing hands on both of your shoulders, looking you in the eyes and saying, I believe in you. Keep throwing the ball. You'll get them next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
My name is Matt Lipan, and I serve at Gateway Community Church. And I want to say thank you to Mark for the ways in which you share your ministry and your story, and the ways in which you share hope in your community and your context. The idea behind the Hope Talks is that it will be conversation, that you and I throughout our day today might engage each other in conversations about how we can talk about, and in our context and community, help each other understand and think about ways in which we can help individuals embrace, live, and realize hope. And so one of the ways that we want to do that is we're going to throw some questions up on the screen, ask you just to spend a few moments looking at those, thinking about those, and in the spirit of Christian conferencing throughout your day, engage in some conversations with those here and how we might be and live hope for our community and in our context. Thank you.
Okay, so the idea is take a look at these questions, then we want you to stand up in little groups, little huddle groups, talk about them together. You're going to have 10 minutes to do that before our next item of business. So stand up and talk to each other about these questions that you've heard coming out of the first Hope Talk. Thank you, Mark Ellcessor, for the Hope Talk.